right, talking about the social element in PE. First, we talked about the experiences, why some kids might like PE, why some kids might not. We looked at the idea of peers picking teams and how it's mostly a social exercise. Even if you're not good, if your friend is a captain, they will generally take you. So just looking at those pieces. Today, we're looking at the competitive side. So how does competition and other people fit into motivation to do and do well? So let's take a look. Right. So in general, I would identify myself as competitive. 70% say it depends on the game task. And my assumption of that follow-up is we're competitive in things we think we are good at and compete in. Okay. If we're terrible at something and have no idea how to do it, we're not going to want to jump in and compete. And I see the things right now in person, right? If there's a kid that's really good at basketball, they kind of moan and groan when we play soccer because it's not their game, right? So they're looking kind of for ways out of it instead of to be able to build their foot-hand coordination in soccer, right? So again, if I am good at it, I will choose to engage in some competitiveness. We've got 22% though, that are like, I will compete in anything. I will compete at eating the sandwich against you, right? They like this parlay versus another people to recognize if they're doing good. And this is another big picture thing that comes up is that for the most part, a lot of kids don't recognize if they're doing something well unless they beat someone. If they beat someone, that's their feedback, like, oh, I did this better than them. But they don't necessarily know the marker points of what they did well, just that they were victorious, okay? In general, other people tend to help me, 80%, right? So 80% of you say if there's other people around, they help you, they lift you up. Other people tend to hold me back, just over a third. Okay, so again, for the most part, these tend to follow the same realm. Most of the time, other people make my life easier and or better. And this is kind of going back into the pandemic state, right? When you were void of people in actual sharing space, things kind of spiraled downward. Everything kind of went negative a bit, right? So 37% agree. Okay, and what does that mean? Typically for these 37%, my guess is that they are folks that like to cater to other people over themselves. So they will do and help somebody else, but they struggle being that person for themselves, which is shown in the next two answers. I tend to get mad at my teammates if they make mistakes, right? 82% disagree. So if you are playing a team game, which is you and one other person on the same team, at the very least one other person, and they make a mistake, most of you don't get mad about it. You shrug it off. You probably kind of, again, going to the earlier one, help them out, try to support them, maybe give them a tip or two. However, look how these numbers change. If I make mistakes, I'm gonna get mad at myself. So there is this kind of, again, this disconnect. We know how to be good for other people. For whatever reason, though, we have trouble treating ourselves with that same good and kindness. Okay. This is the idea of the social factor around being motivated to do things. If there's no one around and everyone's dragging you down, why would you want to do everything? But if your friend calls you up, maybe you're fine laying around all day. If your friend calls you up and says, hey, let's go for a walk, all of a sudden you're jazzed to go for a walk. Right? So we kind of have to add this social element into the motivational piece. And again, for the most part, you're saying other people help you out. So as we get to in the bottom half of this assignment, how do we try to incorporate those other people? Still at 50-50. Right? winning is a way to know if I've done things well. Right? Half of you agree, half of you disagree. Right? Because again, if I win, do I know what I did better than the other? Okay. On the flip side of that positive motivation, we're about 1/3 to 2/3. The risk of getting embarrassed by someone I'm playing against makes me alert and try hard. So if I have an opposition, I don't want to get nutmegged. I don't want the ball to go through my legs. I don't want my ankles to get broken. So I tend to be alert and try. Even if I don't score the basket, I still don't want to look embarrassed. Okay, so there's this other side of the social coin. When other people are involved, right, they can make you look dumb. So how does that affect motivation? Right? This, and I'll give you another story. Playing volleyball, setting up in school. I'll be honest, they're all pretty bad at volleyball. Right? And they knew that they were bad at volleyball, quote unquote. The ball was hitting the ground nonstop. They didn't know what the space, they didn't really know how to hit it. So if everyone is kind of terrible and then you're trying to play this game, you resign on being terrible. So the idea was, hey, do you recognize that this is bad? The answer was, yeah. The other question is, do you want to get better? Because some kids don't necessarily want to get better. They wanted to play volleyball simply because they knew there'd be a lot of rest because the ball's hitting the ground a lot, right? So that's what they were after. But as we built the skills and we actually got them better at the skills and better at space and better at playing volleyball, now the game of volleyball gets more exciting because now we can hit the ball back and forth and they can feed on that excitement of doing well instead of everybody just resigning to we're all terrible at this. Okay. Having people around either to play with or against. I think of two people going to the park, maybe one shoots and one rebounds versus one-on-one. Either or is motivating. Again, 80% of you agree. We still got this 20% that doesn't, but we're going to kind of look at your word answers in a second. Okay, so how might you incorporate other people? I'd also put pets because they're beings into your activity. Invite them to play. Right? This is kind of an anecdote. Making them part of a team, inclusive, again, welcoming. And again, your answers are always a little bit of what you're also after, right? So when you answer a question in general, it gives me insight into what personally you need. Now, this one's tough. This person is asking an awful lot of the person that they invite with them. They want them to tell them if they've improved, they want them to motivate, and they want you to help practice. Whoa, you are basically saying, coach me. What's in it for this other person? Right? Again, is it a mutual relationship? I don't know how many kids are going to sign up for this type of friendship. Tell me if I've improved, motivate me, help me practice. Right? Could these things develop simply by playing? Something to consider. Make them hype me up. I like these words, make them. How does one make them hype you up? And I'll get this a lot in class, like make them do it. Well, my job isn't to make people.
Pero es que esta porquería, no sé.
Please look at your mutes as you come in. Thank you. Right? And the other hand is most people don't want to be made to do things. If we lack choices, we'll fall into a decision. But this idea of making them is kind of a tough role. Use them like teammates, like use them up. Let them know how it's fun and to try something new. Ask them to help you complete something. Most people generally down for that. Right? Help you improve. And again, how do I give and take with this person versus just take from them? Relationships should go two ways. How might practicing without other people be beneficial? Help learn more about the sport. You get better at what you want rather than having to agree what you should practice on. So there's no need to compromise, right? They're not in your way and they're not there to tell you what's wrong and boss you around. This is the same person above who wanted all those things from the person, right? So you can kind of tell the relationships they have in their lives and what they think that's about. No distractions, focus on yourself, focus on yourself. Liberty of practicing the way you want and what you specifically want to practice on, right? If those two people, again, decide to go to the park together and there's one ball between them, one wants to shoot, one wants to dribble. Ideally, we're not going to have a dribbling coach and a shooting coach, but you're going to be able to flip flop and do both. Maybe for some period of time, the dribble will help rebound. And for the other period of time, the shooter will try to take the ball away from the dribbler. Right? That's everybody getting what they're after. That's the goal of social interaction. Okay. Lastly here, they can put situations together. So 5 seconds on the clock and I'm in the corner. Can I make this shot over a person? That sort of thing. So you're trying to slipper an experience. How might you be able to compete with yourself when practicing? And let me preface this a little bit. So when you are trying to practice something, not just get it done, but to practice, the you that exits the task should have learned some things and gained some skills than the you that entered in. So when I think about the word competition, the idea I want you to kind of consider is that you before the task and you after the task are two different people. We want them to be two different people. Because if the person that enters is the same as the person who leaves, it wasn't really an experience, it was a waste of time. I'll kind of pause that so that kind of comes in. Right? So some answers. Sports or games you could do by yourself, like shooting baskets. I could see how good I did before and try to improve on that in particular. New records and reps. So this number, maybe I was able to hit 10 free throws in a row and now I can hit 12. Right? Generally trying to be better every day. Records and goals, this is the way of counting. Try harder activities and see if I can actually do them. Simply challenge myself, right? So if I'm 2 feet away from the basket, that seems easy enough. Will I get 3 to 4 feet away? What does that look like? Is everything just as smooth? Again, as we practice, it isn't necessarily the outcome, but the process. So even if I choose not to count baskets, do my shots by the end feel really easy and smooth? Does the ball spin better? Can I tell what's going to happen with that ball as soon as I shoot it faster than when I started? Okay, make it better each time, how far you can go. And again, making it better how far you can go. What are your attention points to determine whether you got better? Is it a feeling? Is it a number? What is the recognition? Leads us to the last question. Do you consider exercising daily activities as something you practice, try to get better at, or simply do? And please explain why. This person says better at, simply because it's their time. I consider it something I do because there's no end goal. There's no point I'm trying to get to. I just improve what I need to when I need to. Goodness gracious, that is the definition of practice. Let me just pause on there and let you read that. I would hope there isn't an end goal with your body. That you don't get to 10 push-ups and you're like, I did it. No more use of this thing. Again, we want to keep ratcheting and understanding and performing. And even if we stay here, are we able to branch out? Are we able to dive deep and come back up? Again, so it's not always this trajectory of getting further, doing more, but can I do what I'm asking it to do easier? Another key to the coin. I would like to, but I get lazy, right? So this is more of a just do. I do them, but every month I add something. So again, there is this inherent, let me change it up. I tend to just do things. I do it because I've been doing it for so long, I don't have to think about it. So this person wants the automaticness of it is what they're after. But are you making more and different things automatic? Even if you're changing up exercises, right? Are the lunges as automatic as the squats? Get better and simply just do, because in order for you to get good at something, you need to practice. So you need to do it. You need to do the work. You need to do the action. But again, are you able to learn and reflect on it versus just get it done? I'll give you a final example, right? Doing the dishes tends to be a chore, right? While you're doing the dishes, your head's elsewhere. Maybe you're watching something on your phone while you're doing the dishes. That's just doing it. But if you try to do the dishes more efficiently, if you figured out, oh, let me get all the small things done first so that they can get to the bottom and then the big things can go on top into the drying rack, right? While you're doing it, are you figuring out a system? That's the practice portion versus just doing. Okay, let me stop sharing, stop recording real quick.